Something big just started in Canada, and most people don't see it yet. A secret team of powerful leaders is coming together fast, just weeks before a major deadline. They say it will protect Canada's future, but it could quietly shift power away from the United States. What are they planning behind closed doors, and why now? The CUSMA entered into force on July for 16 years. The agreement included a commitment to review the agreement on the 6th anniversary of its coming into force. At this point, the countries can decide by consensus on any appropriate actions and whether to extend the CUSMA's term for another 16 years. Should there be no consensus to extend the CUSMA's term in 2026, joint reviews would be held annually until the parties agree to an extension or until the agreement expires in 2036. That structural fork in the road, a clean 16-year extension, or a decade of annual uncertainty, is precisely what this committee is being assembled to help navigate. Canada's new government is forging a new economic and security relationship with the United States. Prime Minister Carney has secured the best deal of any major U.S. trading partner. 85% of Canada's trade with the United States remains tariff-free, the lowest average tariff rate in the world. As Canada approaches the joint review of CUSMA, its aim is to preserve that unique Canadian advantage and to build on it. The membership list is where the announcement reveals its strategic architecture. The Council includes Jean Simard, President and CEO of the Aluminum Association of Canada, Candice Long, President and CEO of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce, Darrell White, CEO of the Bank of Montreal, Tracy Robinson, President and CEO of Canadian National Railway, Flavio Volpi, President of the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, Ron Bedard, President and CEO of steel producer ArcelorMittal Dofasco, Ken Seitz, President and CEO of Canadian fertilizer company Nutrien, Dennis Darby, President and CEO of the Canadian Manufacturers and Exporters, Lana Payne, Unifor's National President, François Poirier, President and CEO of TC Energy Corporation, Émile Courdeau, CEO of Agropur, the largest dairy cooperative in Canada, Jonathan Price, CEO of mining company Tech Resources, Susan Yurkovich, President and CEO of Canfor, and Tabitha Bull, President and CEO of the Canadian Council for Indigenous Business. Read that list as a map of Canada's trade exposure, not merely a roster of impressive titles. Aluminum, steel, automotive parts, fertilizers, lumber, energy infrastructure, dairy, rail, banking. Manufacturing each of those sectors has been directly affected by the tariff escalation that began in 2025. Volpe, from the Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association, sits on a committee that will advise on a sector where parts cross the Canada-U.S. border multiple times before final assembly. Payne from Unifor represents the workers in those same factories. Poirier from TC Energy is one of Canada's largest pipeline operators. The committee is not a collection of generalists. It is a sector-by-sector inventory of the industries most directly in play as CUSMA negotiations approach. The political dimension of the membership is equally deliberate. The list includes former Conservative Party leader Erin O'Toole, former Quebec Premier Jean Charest, former Nunavut Premier PJ Dai Ekiagok, and former Federal Public Safety Minister Ralph Goodale. The cross-partisan composition, a former Conservative Party leader, a former provincial premier who ran for the Conservative leadership, senior figures from Quebec and from Indigenous governance, is a structural signal that this committee is designed to function as a national unity instrument, not a partisan one. Trade negotiations with a counterpart who has expressed skepticism about the agreement's value require Canada to present a consolidated position rather than a fractured one. The advisory committee will serve as a forum for expertise and strategy on all aspects of the Canada-U.S. economic relationship. The committee will include leaders from major sectors of the Canadian economy, representing extensive experience in business, investment, trade, and labor. The scale of the bilateral relationship that this committee will be advising on is significant. Together, Canada, Mexico, and the U.S. represent a market of 517 million consumers with a combined GDP of $48.8 trillion. Canada and the U.S. exchanged nearly $3.6 billion in goods and services every single day in 2024. Since the CUSMA entered into force, Canada-U.S. trade has increased by more than 27%, or $196 billion. That volume of daily economic activity is the baseline the committee is tasked with protecting The external environment in which this protection must occur has been described by U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer in terms that suggest the July 1st deadline may not produce a clean resolution. Greer has said it is unlikely the U.S. will resolve all its trade issues with Canada and Mexico before the July 1st deadline to renegotiate CUSMA. Greer also told Fox Business in mid-March that Canada was behind Mexico on trade discussions. That assessment, from the official responsible for managing the American side of the negotiation, positions Canada as entering this review process at a disadvantage. A reading that makes the breadth and caliber of this advisory committee's membership more, not less, important. Carney addressed the committee's purpose directly in the announcement. Canada is approaching its economic relationship with the United States with focus, discipline, and unity. This new advisory committee ensures that government is drawing on the best advice and the broadest perspectives to advance Canada's economic interests. Our goal is a strong economic partnership with the United States that creates greater certainty, security, and prosperity for all, Carney said. LeBlanc, who will chair the committee and who has been Canada's primary direct interlocutor with Greer throughout this period of elevated trade tension, framed the body's function in operational terms. Canada is strongest when governments, workers, businesses, and industry leaders pull in the same direction. This advisory committee will help us stay closely connected to the perspectives of key sectors, support effective outreach, and strengthen Canada's position as we establish a new economic and security relationship with the United States, LeBlanc said. The response from the opposition was measured but conditional. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre said in a media scrum that more needs to be done. It's great. At the end of the day, though, what we need is action, he said. That framing, welcoming the structure while demanding outcomes, is the political arithmetic Canada faces as it approaches July 1st. The committee provides expertise and consolidated industry input. It does not itself produce a trade deal. What it produces is a more informed, better supported Canadian negotiating position at a table where the stakes are as high as they have been in the entire history of the agreement. What makes this particular mechanism meaningful is the window between the committee's first meeting on April 27th and the July 1st review deadline, a span of roughly 9 weeks, in which its advice needs to be synthesized, translated into negotiating positions, and deployed at a table where the counterpart has already stated that full resolution before July 1st is unlikely. That timeline is tight in a way that explains the seniority of the appointments. These are not working group participants conducting background research. They are the people who run the companies and organizations most directly exposed to whatever outcome the CUSMA review produces, and whose operational judgment about risk, leverage, and acceptable trade-offs carries a different weight than any academic or policy analysis could. The previous advisory body, the Council on Canada-U.S. Relations, was thanked by Carney in the announcement for its service during a consequential period. This new committee replaces it at the moment the consequential period becomes a decisive one. The structure is in place, the expertise is assembled, the July deadline is approaching. What happens at that table will affect prices, jobs, supply chains, and investment decisions across every sector represented in the room on April 27th.